Welcome, welcome.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Get started in just a second. Let everyone filter in.
It's hard not to shout out every one of your names for a hug and a high five. Pretend as if I did. We're just letting people file in and for the recording to get set up and for things to really click. Hi, Elena. And Cecilia. Hugs back, Cecilia. Are we ready to get started?
Yeah, I think so. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is our first event of Heartland 2021. Thank you. This has proven to be another year of uncertainties and challenges, but we are very grateful to be here with you all tonight for this very special event. And we hope and look forward to hopefully being able to see you all in person next year in St. Louis. My name is Larry Law. I'm one of the co-directors of Heartland. I want to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors. I'd like to thank HarperCollins and William Morrow for sponsoring tonight's special event, and to doubly thank HarperCollins for being the principal sponsor of Heartland 2021 this year. So thank you. Very quickly, before we begin, I'd like to mention we have a very special event coming up next week. So every year, Heartland culminates in October with our annual award celebration. It's something we look forward to every year. This year, we wanted to celebrate our awards a little bit early with a cool event. So next Thursday, August 19th at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, please join us for our first ever Heartland Booksellers Award finalist celebration. We have some very fun stuff planned. Most of you know the books that have been nominated this year, so we wanted to put together an event where you get to know the authors. It's one night, 19 authors, hosted by Ida Cutler of Women and Children First in Chicago and Shane Mullen of Left Bank Books in St. Louis. So please join us for that. I'll throw the link for that into the chat momentarily. Now I would like to turn it over to my co-director of Heartland, Carrie Obrey.
Thank you, Larry. High fives to Larry. Welcome everyone, like Larry said, to the season opener of Heartland Fall Forum. We're really excited to see you all and look forward to hanging out with you here in the months to come. This year, we're scheduling education and author events all throughout the months of August, September, and October, rather than having set dates. We're doing it this way so that we can work with our industry partners to create unique events and standout opportunities for you all. So please watch your inbox for more Heartland updates. I will put the link to sign up for our newsletters in the chat field when I'm done. And tonight we are opening up with a very appropriate author and title who has made us laugh numerous times in the previous few years. With millions of followers online, I know you've seen Charlie Berens' humor and discovered for yourself how often it hits real close to home. We will learn about his new book that's coming from William Morrow in November, The Midwest Survival Guide: How We Talk, Love, Work, Drink, and Eat Everything with Ranch. The galley isn't done yet, so please enter your email address in the URL in the chat field that I will soon post so that you can have the digital galley sent to you when it's ready. It's a real beauty. It's a rich, full color book full of illustrations, and you really need to see the inside of it to get a sense for what kind of a sale this is going to be this fall. And I think it would be a great idea to get familiar with it and plan your promotions because it'll be a nice gift for the holiday season. If you'd like to reach out to Morrow about the book, I'm also going to post Julie Pulaski's email address, the publicist, where you can reach someone at the publisher. And finally, last but not least, we have a fabulous host here to help run the show. Former Milwaukeean and current Twin Cities resident, just like yours truly, Jeff Kamin. He's the producer and host of Books and Bars, Minnesota's biggest book club show, now featuring public Zoom discussions and local in-person lit events. Please take it away, Jeff Kamin.
Thank you, Carrie and Larry, the Meba and Gleba, the sturdy bookshelves we lean upon. Great to be here. I'm excited to talk to this guy, Charlie Berens. He's an Emmy-winning journalist, comedian, podcaster, and creator of the Manitowoc Minute. This Wisconsin native has been featured on Fox, Funny or Die, TBS Digital, Variety, MTV News, and did you know he is a chart-topping bluegrass musician? Charlie, welcome.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, chart-topping bluegrass musician. How about that? Here's the funny thing about like how the Billboard charts work is sometimes if you say your album is bluegrass, and ours is kind of more comedy, but if you say it's bluegrass, which it kind of was, that'll work into your favor and you can get on the charts. But if you get on top of the charts, someone at the charts will actually listen to your album all the way through, and someone will be like, yeah, this isn't all bluegrass. How did this get on these charts? Unfortunately, I think somebody got fired at Billboard after it did top those charts, but we were happy to do it nonetheless. So yeah, thanks for that intro. That, honest to Pete, it was a real nice intro. And if you do want, you can come over to my house. I got rhubarb in the bottom of the freezer for you, honest to Pete. So you come over anytime, day or night, okay? And if you hear anything squirreling around in the top of the garage, that is the raccoon. It's not a pet, but his name is Harry. And if you feed him some of the venison, he will be thankful forever. So there you go.
Sounds great. Charlie, are you going to kick it off with a song for us?
Oh, yeah. I was wondering what that pregnant pause was there. Yeah. You're like, Charlie, you're already going off script on this thing. Okay.
No,
yeah.
Great.
So here's the deal, Jeff. So, and for everybody else, but I'll talk to Jeff since he's there. And actually, before I do, we've already had a lot of action in this chat section. First of all, Elena said she had chicken ranch pizza for the first time this weekend, and I hope it changed your life, honest to Pete. And of course, Larry had chicken ranch. Oh, Larry just said chicken ranch pizza is delicious. Thanks for catching that, Larry. And rhubarb Aritas for everyone. Also a solid suggestion. So, someone wants to know where their crying emoji is. Laughing, crying. That's better. That's better. I was like, crying. What did I say already? Shoot, but laughing, crying. Play the song, Charlie. Geez Louise. Okay, so this is a song called Naming Your Town and or Naming Your Towns. One of the two, and I can't remember which, but I should because it's on my album. But it's all about, like, in the Midwest, we have so many like beautiful town names, like Manitowoc, for instance, or Sheboygan or Oconomowoc. All of those are derived from our indigenous peoples, and they have such a amazing, rich cultural history in the Midwest, and we're lucky to have that. But then there are some other town names, like Sandwich, Illinois, for instance. You're like, what? Or Knock'em-Stiff, Ohio. And you're like, come on. Buttsville, North Dakota. Here's actually a lesson. If you find yourself driving through Burnsville, Minnesota, shortly after going through Climax, Minnesota, don't worry about it. Okay. But if you do get to Clappers, Minnesota, you better call a medical professional. Okay. So those are just some tidbits for you right off the top, Jeff. Should I shut up and play the song?
Love to hear it.
All right. Well, there ain't no rapids in Wisconsin Rapids, and Green Lake sure look blue. Now Jesus had himself 12 apostles, so how come there's 22 Apostle Islands? That's why you don't go drinking. No, you don't go drinking when you're thinking of naming your town. That's why you don't go drinking. No, you don't go drinking when you're thinking of naming your town. Don't worry, there's another verse, okay? And it'll be almost as good as the first one. Could have named your town Sarasota, but you chose Buttsville, North Dakota. What cheer is there east of Des Moines? Climax, Minnesota turns to Sleepy Hollow, Illinois. That's why you don't go drinking. No, you don't go drinking when you're thinking of naming your town. That's why you don't go drinking. No, you don't go drinking when you're thinking of naming your towns. All right, one more verse. Are you ready for it or no? That was rhetorical. Here we go. Okay. Thought to myself, must have been a typo when I rolled through Knock'em-Stiff, Ohio. French licked Indiana, so I ain't well. And if you hate this song, you can go to hell. Michigan, ladies and gentlemen, I wouldn't tell you to actually go to hell, because then I have to confess that to Father Tom, and it'd be a lot longer for both me and him, okay? So anywho, that's why you don't go drinking. No, you don't go drinking when you're thinking of name in your town. That's why you don't go drinking. Honest to Pete, folks. I could have completed that thing, but I thought it was more important to let you know that if you're going to have a couple two treat beers, excuse my French, I was at the state fair and had a Bloody Mary with a deep fried Reuben on the top, so you can see why the words aren't quite hitting the way they should. But anywho, if you're going through and thinking of naming something, a town, and you've had a couple 2-3 Bloody Marys yourself, name your dog instead. Name a ferret, honest to Pete. Just don't name your town, because Swamp Angel is a great name for a ferret, but a weird name to see on my speeding ticket, Kansas. So I'll leave you with that. Okie dokes. How did I do? Did it go
You did
well?
Great, Charlie. Thank you. That was awesome.
Envision?
No, that is, Charlie, a lot of people accuse the planners of St. Paul, Minnesota of perhaps drinking before they laid out the streets, or at least the people from Minneapolis say that about St. Paul. It's a little hard for us to get around there sometimes, but
that's a whole other dimension to the song. It could be a reboot of the song, and you could just talk about, between the one-way streets and then the squares, and then the fact that, and this happens a lot in the Midwest, you just kind of throw railroad tracks everywhere, especially over the busiest streets. So that leaves all of us, our commute could be anywhere from 5 minutes to 3 hours, depending on if we hit one of those trains, and they're not the fast movers either. They're the slow movers,
That's right.
Yeah.
So Charlie, with your incredible biography and all the things we listed that you did, what is it that made you want to add author to the list and write the Midwest Survival Guide?
Honestly, what really inspired it was I kept getting all these messages saying, hey, I'm moving to the Midwest, or I'm visiting the Midwest or whatever. Can you give me some tips on blank city or Y state? Or is Indiana like Wisconsin? I don't know. I'm from California. Are they right next to each other? And so just getting all those questions over the years. And, that's actually the nice thing about getting a little bit of a fan base, is your fan base can help you build your content over time. So I really feel like the concept and the material in the book is kind of by people in the Midwest, for people in the Midwest, and from me. Obviously, I wrote it, so it's I'm kind of like, what do you say, like when you're sort of a conduit for something? Am I using that word right? Oh, gee, he can't define conduit. This book's going to be a real bummer. Holy smokes! Hopefully, you had a thesaurus. Anyway, but yeah, does that answer?
I like that. Yes, it does. You're a Midwest conduit. I like that. And I, as a Midwesterner, I found that this book really does speak a lot of truths. And there's a lot of comedy in these truths. I mean, you cover everything of a full life to be lived in the Midwest, from education, religion, politics, pop culture, food, games, family life, all the true stories of your childhood. What was your favorite aspect of the Midwest, or your childhood, or anything to write about here, and why?
I was in the news business for a number of years, and obviously in the news business, you don't really write about yourself. The whole idea is you're not supposed to be anywhere near the story. You're just supposed to report on it. And then I was doing, stand up, but, you want to make everything funny, like every like 8 seconds, you want to laugh. So I thought it was nice to write about my childhood and not feel the pressure of a punchline that often, and to sort of explore like deeper writing and going into those moments. And then that was just a good practice, I thought. And then, of course, I went back afterwards because I can't help myself, and I punched it up as much as I could. But that was just a real joy. I hadn't done a lot of writing like that in the world of social media. It's get this video out by next week and make it super relatable to as many people as possible. So when you're able to like dive down a little bit more personally, it just gets more fun for an author.
I really like your sentiment here about how experiencing the joys in the lows, because the lows lead to the highs, is something that Midwesterners do or learn to do, and maybe teach others to do. Even with adversity and extreme weather, do you think Midwesterners just appreciate things more in general?
Yeah. And it's all because of the seasons, I mean, I was I was a news host in Los Angeles. You're doing the red carpets, right? And you see all these people come through the red carpets, and they have the fillers and the Botox and all of that. And you're like, well, that's interesting, right? That's an observation. I never saw that in the Midwest. And you're like, well, why is that? Well, in LA, it's 75 and sunny all the time, and time flies when the weather is beautiful every day, because you're like, the weather is beautiful. I want to live forever. And then you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, where'd all these wrinkles come from? There you are, Peter, doing that situation. And so you get those little things to make you forget the fact that you forgot how much time you spent in such a beautiful place. Meanwhile, in the Midwest, we have the seasons, and every year we're just like, honest to Pete, I hope I'm dead before February. So it's just a different mentality. But what it does bring with you is like, you're always reminded that time is moving and to appreciate what you have. I was just biking. I bike a lot, and I go through these trails, and you see the seasons change very specifically on a very thin trail. The plants grow bigger, you get the thorns. Sometimes it's gone in the winter, obviously a lot of mud. So you can't enjoy it for too long, because every 3 weeks it's drastically different. And I think that constant reminder that time is moving just helps you appreciate the little moments in life, which are what make life worth living, I think.
Yeah. And when you speak about how, being out in LA and other places, and, maybe the weather might be better if you want consistent weather, that is. But what do you think the misconceptions about the Midwest are with being a monoculture or not very diverse? How does your book speak to that, and to maybe showing that there is more to the Midwest than what people know from not being here?
Yeah, that was very important to me, because, I'm a white guy, and if you couldn't tell, and I have a very limited perspective of life generally, as any, white person does. But the Midwest, if you go around, I've gone around the entire Midwest doing stand-up for a number of years. I've done news, a lot of that sort of stuff. If you open your eyes or live here, honestly, that there are so many different grouks of people that aren't just white people. And not that there's anything wrong with white people, but we are just, in the book, we describe it as a big old crock pot, honest to Pete, or a potluck. And for instance, in the book, we have Chef Yavang up there in St. Paul and in Minneapolis. He's got those kitchens up there. He's a Hmong chef. And he told me this incredible story on my Cripescast podcast, which we included an excerpt of this in the book. But he was talking about how his family fought with the US in Vietnam, and they were promised asylum in the US. Well, the US came in and they fought alongside these Hmong soldiers. A lot of them very young, 12 at the time. I think his dad was around that age or younger. And then the US pulled out and they left them there. So now they are trying to get to safety when they are considered the enemy in their own homeland. And the story he told about his dad guiding an entire village down to a river to swim across the river. He described it as like Jack in Titanic, holding on, although he didn't die like Jack did in Titanic. That's a different story. But holding on to the raft, guiding people across this river, which is as big as the Mississippi. And they finally get to this refugee camp, which is where he met, which is where he and his wife started their family, and that's where Ye was born. And so he named his restaurant, which is now in Minnesota, after this and after this refugee camp. And to hear that story, which he tells every day through his food, and hear him talk about the Midwest, like, I love the Midwest, this is my home. And he says in the book, he's not one of those guys that says, I hate America or whatever. He says, no, I love America, but he loves the America his dad and grandfather, his grandfather died for, his dad fought for. He loves that dream, and it's fighting for that dream. So what I took that very much so to heart, and I don't want to present the cliche of the Midwest necessarily, but I want to present like a more hopeful version of what it really is, and what I hope is then presented to the masses. And, and so we also have and I hope I'm not going on too long here, but we have this middle section, which I might be the most excited about. They say a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, this middle section is called the Midwest Gallery, where we have artists in each state create their depiction of the Midwest in the form of art. And a lot of these artists are, I believe we have 3 indigenous artists in there. And, basically I wanted to go out on my way to not have, as a white guy writing an entire book on the Midwest, I really wanted to make sure that these artists were not coming from that exact same viewpoint. And so to bring it all back together, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words, but if you take those 3 pages, it's an entire new book. So that is all to say that when you buy this book, you're getting a 2-for-1 deal, and everybody in the Midwest loves a 2-for-1 deal. So I think I'm really excited about that part. And the art is absolutely beautiful. There's a veteran in there who had his depiction of Ohio. There's a wonderful Black artist from both Chicago and Detroit, and their depictions are just incredible. And it really does help you see the Midwest. If you weren't seeing it before, you're definitely seeing it after you see that gallery through a different lens, I guess.
Yeah, it was great. And it reminded me of one of my favorite parts of going to the state fair, which is like checking out, the art exhibits. And it had like some good seed art in there. And it just had some good representations of all the different states, which brings me, and part of what you're saying here brings me to this idea of how could you then write one book that encapsulates 12 different Midwestern states, like the differences between Ohio or the Great Lakes region versus like Nebraska. Like how did you write something that speaks to all of the Midwest and how different all of these 12 states are?
Yeah, I think it's kind of probably tapped into a lot of the journalism background of trying to explore. I worked with a talented team of people who were helping me. And I really love that collaborative process because I wanted to be very open to the fact that the Midwest that I see could be very different than the Midwest a lot of people see. So I wanted to open it up to, get feedback from fans, and then, seek out feedback from others who I knew were not necessarily in my fan base. And there's a very personal touch in this book, obviously, with the stories of me growing up, but then I really tried to just get out of my comfort zone to create an accurate depiction of the rest of the Midwest. And you don't want to go so broad that it just feels, empty. And we definitely didn't. We went into each of these different states and kind of found really the trees that people talk about, three ways in Cincinnati and all that sort of stuff. And, Chicago, obviously, you're going to talk about the L and what that represents to the city, or blues in Chicago and its path from the South to Chicago and how that changed. So there's a lot of things we take for granted. Motown, for instance, the effect that had on the Midwest, which a lot of these things I was learning too. And I'm glad I wrote this because I'm just even more in love with the Midwest than I already was. And I was pretty far in love with it, I'll tell you that, Jeff. So honest to Pete, it's been quite a great journey.
Charlie, do you feel the rest of the country is starting to get it now? Is starting to realize how great the Midwest is? Is there like a Midwest assance of sorts coming along with characters like Ted Lasso and Leslie Knope from Parks and Rec, and recent small town sports successes like the Milwaukee Bucks and a few others we could name? Do you feel like the rest of the country is getting it? Are we going to be proud to be Midwestern, or still sort of self-deprecating and like hiding that under a bushel?
Yeah, it's okay here. Honestly, it's fine. It's good. I think it definitely is Midwest dissonance. That's a good word. I think that's definitely happening. I mean, if you look around at the rest of the world right now, unfortunately, a lot of it's burning, and we also have, you know, oceans rising, and a lot of people are choosing to go to the Midwest just from that sense of like what the weather will be like in 20 years, what the climate will be like rather. So there's that element, but then you throw in all these other cultural things of like the Bucks being, you know, and the Packers. Okay, let's not forget about them. But on top of that, it's just like before it was sort of, we care about the Midwest once every 4 years when it has an outsized role in the elections. And now I think more people are really deciding to move there, especially after COVID too, with the idea of wanting to have more of a yard or, you know, stuff like that. And so I think we're on a good trajectory. And I do hope people move here because it's a fantastic place, and I think everyone should experience it.
So we're going to have some new neighbors, and we're going to be nice to them. And when they move here, you're going to have to teach them how to talk. So could you give me an example? Could you say something maybe as though you are, you know, not from the Midwest, and then say the same sentence as though you were from, pick a state, pick a dialect from the Midwest?
Sure.
Maybe you could teach us how.
Yeah. Okay. So if you say, Larry, I'll do it Midwest first. Yeah, Larry came over for some brats, but he went ass over tea kettle into the drink, you know, and now, I don't know, he's probably sleeping with them walleyes or something. The son of a gun couldn't never caught a walleye to begin with. He couldn't have caught a walleye with a leech. And the translation for that for anybody outside the Midwest is Larry fell in the water.
So it's just that we give a lot of extra words. We just, we like to.
Well, there are some phrases too, like ass over tea kettle. That's that means you fell. You know, we say screwed the pooch. You know, that's a weird one. Yeah. That's a weird one that raises the eyebrows, but just means you messed up. So who the first person was to come up with that phrase and why they named it that, I don't want to go down that road with you right now, Jeff, but you know, it is what it is.
Well, you know what we could do? I know you wanted to give a quiz. Why don't we have a quiz to see who's the most Midwestern here in our event? We must have a lot of the states represented, and maybe we will determine, what do you want to call them? Who the winner of this quiz? What do they win, Charlie?
Yes. So the winner, folks, if you do win this quiz, you also, like Jeff, get to come over to my garage in the venison freezer in the garage and get some rhubarb. So please also say hi to the raccoon.
So Charlie will read these questions, and if you guys could answer in the chat, and I will be looking for the quickest, best answers, and we'll call out some of you, and then we'll discuss what's right and what's wrong. So please use the chat for your answers. Okay. Okie dokes. All right. So, okay. How do you show someone in the Midwest you love them? Do you say, I love you? Do you clean their gutters? Or do you say, watch out for deer? So A, I love you. B, clean their gutters. C, watch out for deer. They're going nuts. Yeah, they're going nuts. They're going nuts. So you know what? I mean, I see the first one that got both B and C. Looks like Kristen Sandstrom. Kristen Sandstrom, I don't know what state you're representing, but they should be proud of you. Am I right? Am I right? You want to explain those to you? Yeah, sure. I'll explain this. So in the Midwest, do you want me to explain them wrong? Okay, yeah. In the Midwest, the reason A isn't the right answer is because in the Midwest, we lack the emotional capacity to tell somebody we love them. So we just simply tell them to watch out for deer, or we channel all our internal, usually Catholic guilt, and do stuff for them like clean their gutters. That will get us out of purgatory earlier. It does also mean we love you, but mostly we don't want to be in purgatory. So that sound good? Sounds great. All right. Congratulations, Kristen. All right. What's the next one, Charlie? Next one. Your neighbor's lawn has been taken over by dandelions. These people are A, busy, B, botanists, C, deeply, deeply troubled. Well, we got a lot of people with C on this one. I think a lot of people really think that the dandelions do indicate deep trouble. So I mean, Carrie got it first.
Okay.
But Carrie, Carrie is Meba. So I don't know if she's disqualified for that. And the second was Nancy Bainan.
We'll
So,
give it to both of
Carrie
them.
and Nancy, way to go with those seeds. Val was close with another C. Jenna was right on it from Raccoon River Press with a C. People, honestly, when I read that, I had a tough time with that one, because then I started to feel like, does every dandelion in my yard make my neighbors feel that there's something wrong with me? And I didn't know that. And now I'm concerned.
It's thanks for bringing that up. And it's actually a trick question. Now, and you only know this if you read the book, but some of you may think that like, oh no, we got to go kill them with weed eater or something. Absolutely not. Okay. Why would you, get rid of free flowers in your lawn for expensive chemicals? The reason is you can make wine out of dandelions. Okay. So you pick up all them dandelions. When I was 11, this was one of my first jobs. I worked for this woman at something called the Yarn House. And, I sorted yarn and cut the grass and then painted and all sorts of stuff. And she had all these dandelions on her yard, and she asked me to go pick them. And I had, the yellow stained hands and everything. And then she said, bring them up to the house. I was like, oh, this is weird. And then she's like, take them to the basement. We put them in a jug and then, squash them together to make dandelion wine, which I then tried, pretty cool for a 12-year-old, so I was 11 when I picked them, 12 when I drank it. So
okay,
takes a while to ferment. So happy birthday.
12 is the legal drinking age for dandelions in Wisconsin.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Excellent. All right.
Ben, I think Nancy prepared for this event by donning her Packers gear. So Nancy gets bragging rights for this one. Nancy, do you have it on? Do you want to show us?
Way to go, Nancy.
You on the spot. You can pass if you'd like, but you get the bragging rights on this one.
Awesome. Congrats, Nancy, and thanks for wearing the green and the gold. What do we got next on the quiz?
Did Nancy say she doesn't want to show it? Did she say, oh my gosh, I couldn't, or what? Oh, never mind. I see in the comments. Okay. All right.
Yep. Soaking wet from the thunderstorms. All right. Well, thanks, Nancy. Charlie, what's next on the quiz?
Okay, next on the quiz 3, your mom tells you she just had the most amazing 3-way. How do you respond? A, wait, what? What in the name of, I gotta say, wait, what? What in the name of Sam Hill is wrong with you? B, well, aren't you just full of surprises? C, so jealous. Wish I'd been there with you. So yeah, this one's gonna get a little weird. Yeah. B, C, Nancy says C. Okay, I think.
Which one do you see first?
I think it was Nancy. Was it? Was she the first to say C or?
Yep, looks like Nancy got in there again.
Okie doke.
C, way to go. Nancy's running the table.
Yeah. So 3-way is, just a nice little chili dish from Cincinnati. So there you have it. Sounds, what sounds normal in Cincinnati sounds a little goofy about 10 minutes outside it. And these are the fun things you learn in the Midwest Survival Guide, that way you don't get any confusing Thanksgivings. So.
All right. Well, we got 2 more questions. So far, Nancy's got 2 right. So she's in the lead.
Okay. How many schools are in the Big Ten? A, 14, obviously. B, 8. C, 10.
Yeah, I see Kate. Kate got 14.
Okie dokes. All right, real good. Yeah, why did they name it that? Because they could. All right. And now finally, the last question. Lake effect snow is A, when snow looks like a lake. B, the name of an indie trap folk duo from Cleveland. Or C, lake precipitation causing increased snowfall.
Oh, Val with the hot hand. Val with the hot hand with the C. She was so close on so many of these. Val Hosky coming from behind.
Nice.
She had C.
Val.
She had C. Way to go, Val. Your state should be proud of you. Tell us which state you're representing in the chat, Val.
Michigan.
All right. You know what? I thought it was still say yes to Michigan, and I went to Michigan earlier this summer, and it's all about pure Michigan now. but I think you can say yes to pure Michigan. I like Saugatuck. I was in Saugatuck, right across from Milwaukee, across the lake. It's quite beautiful there. So way to go, Michigan.
It is great. I feel like they should do a parody of that though. Like
say pure Michigan. Yeah, it's calling for like a Miami Vice parody of sorts. If we're on the same wavelength there, I'm not sure. But okay, so Nancy got 2 of them right. There were a lot of close ones there. Nancy representing the green and the gold in the state of Wisconsin. Too bad about the thunderstorms, but thank you for playing. Way to go, Nancy. And was there any doubt that Wisconsin was somehow going to win this, Charlie? I don't know.
No, it kind of stacked the deck there a little bit, you raised them right here,
Well, there's a lot of people here in the chat. I'm wondering if anyone has questions for Charlie that they would like to ask in the chat, and we can have Charlie answer a few. Anyone with any questions? If not, I have plenty more questions for him. Grand Rapids has more craft beer than anywhere. Yeah, I flew into Grand Rapids and then I went down to Saugatuck.
True story or no?
That's true story.
Uh-oh, we got a fight going. Claire says Duluth does.
It's a fight over craft beer.
Yeah.
Here's a question from Val. Val's wondering, Charlie, does Pennsylvania belong in the Midwest?
I am going to say no, not according to this book. But I do think we do have a section in the book where we talk about, being honorary members of the Midwest, and Pennsylvania most certainly gets that, especially the western part of Pennsylvania. That really culturally speaking is very similar, I would say. Yeah,
and to Val's point, Pittsburgh is more Midwest than Philly for sure. When I hear Pittsburghese, there's elements in there that it's such a distinct accent also. And having visited Pittsburgh, I definitely got a feel, like a Milwaukee-like feel for it. Beautiful town. I love Pittsburgh. I think they're definitely brothers in arms. With their brotherly love, we welcome Pennsylvania. If they want to be Midwest, it might really shake things up, but I'd welcome them. So any other questions for Charlie here? I'm wondering, especially if there's anyone from Chicago that maybe wants to speak to Chicago's relationship in general to this whole thing. There's a major section in the book about the city that I really enjoyed, and sort of our love-hate relationship at times with the big city, the one.
Yeah. I guess since you brought it up, I'll just address it. And, Chicago, especially growing up a Packers fan, Chicago was always the enemy. So it's hard to remove yourself from that mental disposition. But then if I did news all around the country. So I was in, Texas at one point, and I was listening to somebody talk smack about Chicago, and I was like, listen, only I can say that, honest to Pete, but that's it's like your older brother who's like, or sister who's doing a lot, and they always show up with a new Tesla every Thanksgiving. You're like, oh, wow, well, okay, favorite child alert. So, you want to give them a little ribbing, but truth be told, it's an amazing city, and we're lucky, very lucky to have it.
Charlie, if there's one thing that you hope that people take away from your book after reading it, what's something that you hope people get after having read the Midwest Survival Guide?
I really do think that my whole goal with the book and in doing everything that I've done with the Manitowoc Minute is to try and just build like cultural, ideological bridges between people who have. If you look at all the problems that we have in the world today, I think a lot of it is because at some point we stopped playing nice, and I think you have the Midwest nice, right? And I think that if people can do that more, listen to each other, be open, be less, willing to jump on somebody, but take a beat and be Midwest nice. I think we'd have more people listening and less people talking. And when you're listening, you're learning more, and together we can build from there. And so I tried to do that, whether it was including people that weren't just from my voice into the book, or whether it was, trying to discuss some more complicated issues. So I just hope it can help bring people together. And but saying that sounds cliche, but I'm trying real hard to make it not sound super cliche.
No, I think it's great. And Claire has an interesting question here. Charlie, do you think the Midwest should secede from the US and join Canada?
Well, Claire, honestly, you put me on the spot here. And here's what I think. I think Canada should secede and join the Midwest. Okay. And I say that specifically because of their walleye population. Okay. They got some great walleyes up there, and muskies. And speaking of climate change, muskies are very susceptible to climate change. And we're seeing less of them over the years in the Midwest. So you're gonna have to go to Canada to get them monster muskies. But we'll see how she goes.
So Charlie, the Midwest Survival Guide comes out November 16th.
Yes.
What's next for you? What's next for you, Charlie?
What's next? That's a great question. I haven't thought. I'm gonna go on tour. Yeah, I'm going on tour. Allegedly, we'll see how it goes with all the Delta variants and whatnot. But we do have a tour book, so we'll be on tour selling this book. Bringing people together in a safe way and having fun.
What's a tour for you like? Is this a stand-up music tour also?
Yeah, we do stand-up, do music. Adam Gruhl, who I wrote that album with, will be on a bunch of different shows playing some music, and it'll be a lot of fun. The shows are great. And then stand-up, it's mostly stand-up. That's what it is. But yeah, and then we'll sell the book after and do meet and greets if that's a smart thing to do at that time. So.
Well, I hope it works out. It sounds like a lot of fun. I'd love to see you on tour. I was shocked by one of the stories in the book where you bet on the Packers to win the Super Bowl, and they did, but then you didn't have the winning ticket anymore. Are you going to bet on the Packers this season?
I can't believe you're bringing that up right now. You want to put me in a bad mood? Like I was on a high right now, but you had to remind me of that.
I'm reminding you to bet on them this season. This is our year.
Of course I am going to bet on them this season. It is our year, and I'm going to do my gosh darndest not to lose the ticket again. And this is why you don't drink in Vegas with your Wisconsin friends, by the way. They're a lot of fun, but they'll make you lose something that is worth 26 times your net worth at that time in my life. So there you go.
Well, Charlie, I thoroughly enjoyed the book. I loved talking to you today, hearing your stories, and I look forward to seeing more from you, seeing you on tour. So thank you so much for taking time with us today. It was really great. And I believe Great Lakes Larry is back with something. Are you with us?
Hey, Larry, can I say something too?
Yep, absolutely.
Yours is more outro, but I just wanted to say, Charlie, you have the remarkable ability to bring together, like you said, trying to make the world a more empathetic, smaller place and bringing together disagreement. You can make my friends' parents with different political persuasions laugh in the same way that you can make all of us laugh. And it's the one thing we have in common. So we appreciate
it's amazing what a little walleye goes a long way. I always says that. So tell your folks I says hi, by the way. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I just wanted to say really quickly, thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Charlie. That was absolutely wonderful. Huge thank you to Collins and William Morrow for the sponsoring tonight's event. And a quick reminder, next Thursday, please join us for our Heartland Booksellers Finalist Award celebration. That being said, thank you all so much for coming, and thank you again, Jeff and Charlie. That was great.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie.
Take care. Watch out for deer.